Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 5th, 2024 Lackawanna City Council meeting caucus. And the caucus is designed to give the City Council an opportunity to dialogue on the individual agenda items before we formally call the meeting to order and act on and vote on the individual items. To that end, the first several matters are administrative. So we'll move directly to item number 3, communications from the mayor. Mayor file request City Council grant permission to present the 23 state of the city address, council chambers, March 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. I'd like to issue a warm welcome to Mayor file for same. As a city council member, do the city council members have any questions or comments on that request? If not, moving on to communications from council, we have 2 from First Ward Council Member Muflahi. The first item, number 4, is request short-term rental units present in front of zoning board and request special unit permit, maybe special use permit. Also, an ordinance to place restrictions on noise violations and repetitive law enforcement premise presence. Councilmember Muflahi, is there anything you want to expound on that?
Yes. So short-term rentals seem to become a bit more popular in non-destination areas. What you would assume to reserve a house or a pet house or something in Florida is now common in Lackawanna, whether it's to come to a Bills game and not stay at a hotel. But they're becoming a little bit more popular where residents are now having concerns about revolving tenants where there's a new batch every other day. And other municipalities are having the same issues. Blue collar cities and towns are facing the same type of popularity, not just with Airbnb, but there's other platforms that you can rent these short-term rentals. I do understand that there are already some provisions from the city regarding rental dwellings. This is a little bit different. And I know there's already noise ordinances that have long been in the books, but this as well is a little bit different where if this particular dwelling is used for these types of rental opportunities, they would require, I'm proposing that they require some kind of special use in front of the zoning board and then ultimately licensure from the city that do come with certain fees and penalties when they become in violation of doing, whether it's repetitive noise ordinance issues. So it's kind of like a 3 strikes you're out, because that needs to be addressed and not just have these types of properties develop next door where you have no control over it. And as a resident, as a homeowner, you have no say in any of these things. So this kind of puts them on alert that the neighbors would be given proper opportunity to either, come in and support these types of projects in their communities or to contest them. The municipalities as close as the city of Buffalo are actually currently in the amendment stages. They've already developed an ordinance specifically for short-term rentals, and they've just amended their fees and penalties. So they've seen that it has maintained whatever integrity these neighborhoods aspire to have versus having it just go haywire with no control. Attorney Gahn has been very instrumental in getting some information as well. We both shared some information based on Airbnb themselves on their website. If you attempt to put a residence on and you live in the city of Buffalo, it'll alert you saying you have to go through an ordinance through the city. You have to get verified first in order to register with us. So Airbnb is already on notice, and they also go on to explain, if I may use my phone, they also go on to say When deciding to become an Airbnb host, it is important for you to understand the laws of your city as a platform and marketplace. We do not provide legal advice. However, we want to provide some useful links that may help you register your property. And they also go on to say that they work with local municipalities and their housing laws and such in order to make sure that they do their due diligence and not just have anybody register. So there's already kind of like a precedent set through other municipalities. So before this becomes an issue, I was hoping to be a little bit more proactive. I did put in a search myself for Lackawanna and Airbnb, and there are already residences. Has it become an issue? I don't want it to. I want it for us to create some kind of ordinance through the legal department and create something where we're not trying to put out a fire.
Now, there had been a couple incidences in the past, over the last, I think, 2 years, nothing significant and nothing reoccurring, but we certainly appreciate your efforts, Councilmember Muflahi, for doing the research that you've done and supplying us with information to that end. This would be something that you would care to refer to the law department?
Absolutely.
For
Absolutely.
report and possible legislation, I would think, right?
Yeah, I was hoping that this would at least establish something on record, something for us to work on, maybe even have a session to just discuss this, a work session where we discuss this along with the appropriate director of development as well as legal and public safety as well, and come up with some kind of plan on how we would address this type of situation, for lack of better terms.
So we refer it to the law department and director of development.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any council members have any other questions or comments on item number 4? If not, thank you, Councilmember Muflahi. Moving on to agenda item number 5, again, from Councilmember Muflahi, request permission to use Senior Center on March 29th, 2024 for community iftar dinner from 6 until 8:30 p.m. I believe that's already been booked, right?
Oh, officially booked
For you.
for me?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Well, I did speak with Brian and I did speak with the mayor. Not that I'm aware of, I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but to have it where it is on the agenda, it is city property, city use, and I was hoping to use it. I did have a pre-Ramadan iftar last year at the library where it was standing room only. Dean, you remember?
Yeah.
It was a full
Really
house.
nice, yeah.
So I was hoping to have a bigger space this year. It is open to the city. We are still having something at the library, a bit more, earlier in the day, geared towards little kids, and they're, reading stories and doing arts and crafts and having some samples of foods and things. And that will be before Ramadan officially starts, so March 9th. But this was something that I was hoping to extend to the city and provide all of the foods and treats and have it where we just break bread together, nothing too formal.
Very nice, thank you. Any council members have any comments? All right, moving on to council agenda item number 6 from Director Laxo, request city council authorize city clerk to advertise for lawn mowing and landscaping bids for 2024. It's a standard request. Anything further on that, Brian, you wish to?
No, sir.
Any questions from the council? Moving on to item number 7, Director of Public Safety, request city council approve sale of Wanco speed trailer, which is an inoperable and obsolete, proceeds to be placed in the 23-24 operating police department account. Director Morocco, do you have anything you want to add on that for us?
No.
Any council members have any questions? Now moving on to item number 8 from our city controller, Linda Vicky, requests the city council move or approve the purchase of Envision accounting software in the amount of $34,250 for the first year and a reoccurring cost of $6,000 annually. Linda, is there anything you want to add to augment this or clarify anything on this request?
This is just in follow-up to multiple discussions and information provided to council previously to move away from the current Edmonds program that we have.
And for the council members, the cities, even though the Edmonds program was something we tried to move away from, we went to the Tyler program, which then became a problem in and of itself, and that is in the process. It's an independent council attorney hands, and that is being negotiated and handled by an independent attorney who feels the city's position is very strong. And Linda, you have supplied us with information from other municipalities across the country who run into the same problem, and this has resulted in litigation, which I believe is still outstanding in some instances. But the opinion of our council is that we're on solid ground on this matter.
Absolutely.
So that you're requesting we move away from them. We had minor, just minimal financial impact from their involvement, and we were directed to not make any further payments. And so we're here to consider this new accounting software. Any council members have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Council President.
Mr. Anderson, yes.
Linda,
Yes.
how long will it take to implement this new system?
I'm hoping that if I get the okay, that I'll be up and running for August 1st.
So for 8 months, we'll be paying for two systems then?
Well, we've already paid for Edmonds. We wouldn't renew anything other than the property tax collection. But it takes that long to get it programmed and get everybody fully trained. And then you want to be able to make your entries in both systems just to verify that everything is recording properly.
Okay. Have you talked with all the other departments and they're all on board with this? They agree with this new system coming in?
Well, in the meetings, there were payroll people as well as purchase orders. So that would be Tommy. And they both were very happy with how this program handled their
And
functions.
how about the rest of them, like the treasurer's office? They have,
That-
that's been the problem right along.
That would not be moving over to Envision. The property tax is a function that we're still going to have to address.
So we'll still have two systems, like Edmonds and this Envision.
Well, Edmonds, for the short time until we can find something else to move to, we're having trouble finding a system that will accommodate what we need to do.
So why don't we find that first instead of
Because
another system?
because every day the pile of mistakes in Edmonds that I have to fix is growing and growing and growing. And it would be great if we didn't have to fix payroll and purchasing and encumbrances and bank reconciliations.
Which we got mistakes.
The system does not record information as we need it to. It's very difficult to get information out of it. And I'm constantly making journal entries.
Have you brought that in to
Edmonds,
yes?
we've called many, many times.
And they've come in.
They've never come in.
They don't.
No.
With Edmonds, is the servers, are they at, where are the servers?
The servers are cloud-based on Edmonds.
How about this new system?
The new system is, I believe it's server-based, but if I understand correctly, we're going to be having a cloud-based server internally, and that is where it's going to house the program. So in essence, it will be cloud-based as well.
Is that an added cost?
I don't know the answer to that. I think it's something that they're already planning on moving to.
Linda, and the purchase price of $34,700 or $250, does that include training?
Yes,
And will all the departments go through that are
going to be using it? Yes, absolutely.
And how will this new system affect the admin system that the city clerk's office just implemented?
The city clerk's program is not integrated with our system as it is. It's standalone. So
So
it will continue to be standalone, I believe.
Okay. All right, anyone else have any other questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Yes.
Can you explain, Linda, how Edmunds operates as far as the tax and property? Is Edmunds a sufficient enough program to handle tax and property in the treasurer's office?
Not in my opinion.
Is it because the data is not being put in properly? Is it human error, or is the program itself flawed?
I think that the program is limited, and it's definitely not helped in instances where there might be a human error that compounds the issue.
And, I hate to put you in a spot where you may have to divulge information that you don't feel comfortable, whether it's an individual department that may not be compliant in entering data in a specific or sophisticated manner. And, I cannot do this with you in hot seat, but is everyone entering their responsible data into this admin system in order for it to function?
I believe that when Edmunds was implemented, people were told on Friday they were using a new program on Monday. And I believe that a lack of training definitely has compounded the issues with how information is entered into Edmunds. But I think a large part of the problem is how Edmunds stores the data that's input. Like, for example, online credit card payments, there's absolutely no way for that to get imported into Edmunds the way people pay it online. It automatically defaults if there is like the oldest outstanding tax, no matter what anybody says they're paying online, Edmunds will take that payment and apply it to the oldest tax. And there's nothing we can do to change that. So I think a lot of the issue with Edmunds has to do with how it takes the data and stores it. It's not customizable.
So as subscribers of the Edmunds program, I'm assuming that with all of these software platforms, there's a contract that they have to fulfill. Are they in violation of not providing the appropriate IT tech backup, being available, providing the appropriate trainings? Is there anything that we can do to pressure them in order for them to be compliant and getting us the appropriate trainings for the staff?
Well, I think that from what I've seen, the contract was very basic. And the promises made when the program was being demoed were very large promises. And it wasn't until after it was up and running that we found out that the program didn't do what it said it was going to do.
And this is with Edmunds, not with Tyler.
This is with Edmunds. And just to address certain interest calculations that it wasn't doing properly, it took me 14 months of calling Edmunds to get them to write a program separate from how their program normally would handle it to do that interest calculation. 14 months it took me to get them to do that. And it still doesn't work. It still doesn't record it properly in the general ledger. It's just not traceable. If you run a report in one module, the next module that you run that information out of should exactly equal each other. They should reconcile. That's what accounting is. I have never run two reports out of both modules that have ever equaled. Ever.
So what are we paying right
Edmonds is just a couple thousand a year for cloud storage and for like support.
Do you know what the initial cost of the program was?
I did write it down. I believe that we paid in 2019 and 2022, we paid about $85,000.
And according to the conversation that you had with Councilman Carl Anderson, regardless of if we subscribe to Envision, we would still be at the mercy of Edmonds, because that takes at least up until August,
Well, until we find something else that we can move to.
which we far exceed August.
Right now, what we're doing is every daily report that the treasurer has for collecting taxes, permit fees, any other type of fees that come in. I go through them daily and reconcile them and make sure the postings to the general ledger equal.
And that would still continue even with Envision.
Yes, and because of all the issues and even the errors with entry that we discussed, I don't think I feel comfortable having something tie right in that somebody can post to without me being able to verify it. So I would, even if it was integrated with the program, which I'm thinking that whatever program we get to work with taxes, I'm going to do some type of a conversion program in there that would import the information into the general ledger. So it's not going to have to be keyed every day, but it's got to be reconciled daily at this point.
Because Envision doesn't remedy that. Because Envision is a whole separate operating system,
Right.
Independent of Edmonds, where Edmonds is still the operating system linked to the treasurer's office.
Correct.
So
at the moment,
but even when Envision is up and running, when it is up and running in August, Edmonds still will be a separate independent.
Yes, but the data will be recorded in Envision with the journal entry. It will be doing it exactly the same. It'll be doing it exactly the same way, except one should equal the other. That's a very good question.
They're not linked.
You press a button and information goes from one to the other, but it never reconciles. So I'm not exactly sure.
How do you know that the information will be transferred?
Because I'll make sure it's working right before we implement it, and I'll be instrumental in having it programmed.
I didn't mean to jump in there, Councilmember Muflahi, but we don't know, so the answer is we don't know if Envisions will be able to communicate with Edmonds and Edmonds will be able to communicate with Envisions. Is that what we're saying here?
I really don't want Edmonds to communicate with Envision at this point because it's not working.
Okay. Okay.
Linda, I really want you to understand that we do want your job to be as easy and the transition to be as smooth as possible. But and I speak for myself, the fiscal responsibility, throwing bad money after good is not something that sits well with me. Understanding that these software programs are astronomical amount, which when they work right, they're well worth every penny, for sure. I would just be so irresponsible to okay something that we would still have to remedy in the next couple months.
Well, if you look at it this way, the next closest program that I've looked at is probably $70,000 more than this one. And I've looked at a bunch of them. And right now, in order to reconcile data line by line, I think that it's costing us in the last 2 years more than this program costs. Completely.
Understood completely, understood. But moving forward, we may, ultimately have to go on to that $70,000 program more, in addition to the 35 that we're approving today with the 6,000 maintenance. You get what I mean? Like, we may have to still go for that more expensive software program in addition to the 35 today. So I just don't want to continue to throw money out the window when there can be a program that encompasses everything if we just spend a little bit more time.
I've spent over 2 years and there isn't at this point in time.
And from what I understood, the other municipalities that are towns, villages and such don't have the issues that the Lackawanna, the city, quote unquote, city has.
That is correct.
How do cities operate with, as far as software goes, where they can reconcile with a click of a button versus having to have you go and manually do it?
Do you mean like the towns
Like
and
the city of
villages?
Buffalo, what makes them any different from us?
Well,
Where they're able to,
I believe the big thing with the city of Buffalo is that the school district is part of them, not a separate entity.
mhm.
So it's all included in one package. You don't have to segregate it. They're not guaranteeing it. It's just carried on their books the way it is. So that's separate and distinct from how we do it. The villages and the towns, they have, school taxes is the biggest problem. The villages and the towns have smaller sized programs that work very well because they don't carry school taxes from year to year to year on their books. They carry it till the due date, which would be October 15th. And then they take whatever is uncollected and they transfer it to the county, and the county takes care of it and transfers it onto the county bill. So basically their file is wiped clean as of October 15th, where we have stuff going back many years.
Okay, thank you, Linda, and thank you, Councilmember Muflahi. This is a conversation that would, I think, would have been better had outside of the meeting tonight.
Yeah.
If this matter comes up for a vote, everyone has their votes, but let's move on.
I'd just like to say something.
Yes, go ahead.
I just would like to thank you, Linda, for all your hard work you've been doing since you came on board, and you were dealt a mess, and you're working very diligently to help straighten this out, and I want to thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to item number 9. Again, from City Controller, request City Council approve the ordinance to redistribute excess funds existing in developmental personal services budget code. Linda, anything you want to add on that to explain it?
No, the mayor had submitted a request, and I just drafted an ordinance that complied with the request.
Any council members have any questions?
Yeah, I have some questions.
Yes.
Are these salary increases, are they going all the way back to August 1st?
That is my understanding.
So they're retroactive to August 1st?
I believe that's what it said in here somewhere. I believe I read that.
And it says here that some of these positions were compared and they're below market value. Who did the comparison? Is there a comparison that we were supposed to get? Did they compare all of the jobs in the city, or just?
I don't know if it was within the city or in comparison to other municipalities.
I think that was the assessor's position, and the mayor called to my attention, at least she was aware of the comparisons. It may have been brought to her attention from our city assessor, but Mayor Apollo was comfortable with the fact that the other municipalities' assessors were substantially paid more than our current assessor is being paid. So I think that's how that was arrived at.
Okay. And going forward, these salaries are going to be increased by these amounts?
I believe so.
Yeah, so it'll be
Yes.
shown in the next year's budget.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
And did these positions, did they get a raise in last year's budget, this year's budget in August?
Well, we gave the raise, it was 3%, didn't we?
Okay, yeah, okay. I'm not really for doing this in the middle of the year. I like doing it at budget time.
Yeah,
All right,
and I
whatever.
understand it, but the funding is what's left over and that it had been allocated for the Director of Development's position that was vacant. And Chuck Clark filled in doing double duty
Right,
at no additional pay, but had the additional responsibility,
right.
as well as Tommy Nicometto in purchasing, who was also doing double duty. So that the funds are available, and the mayor is asking they be redistributed to those individuals who actually have been doing the work for months, not only now, but in the past. So I think that's how that came about.
Okay.
I have a question.
I'm not sure if council
Oh, I'm
member
sorry.
Sirdike is done yet?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm not disputing or gonna question any of the increases, but I am gonna question, section 4, where there's a account clerk typist position. I believe that's a creation of, correct me if I'm wrong, that's currently, that position doesn't exist, correct? We're not filling it?
That's correct. That's
Okay, so
correct.
that's a creation of, is there currently, is this for a specific department?
It's for the development department.
And then this would be an additional in next year's budget for 46,000 and some odd dollars.
Yes, that was my understanding.
Okay, is there any way that we can, are we gonna fragment this, or are we gonna go as one collective for all of the 1 through 5 sections?
I thought it was all collective.
And I only question this part, if anyone can explain what the duties of this individual would be versus who they already have now as, I believe, an administrative assistant.
I don't think there's anyone there that does that offhand, but it would be the traditional clerk typist responsibilities under the collective bargaining unit. If I'm not mistaken, John, is that accurate?
It is accurate. In my short term here so far, I learned that the Director of Development really has no one to use as for clerical support. So that technically, that position that's listed is for that department and for here moving forward.
And would they also be with code enforcement as well? Or?
No.
No?
So if I may,
Yes.
so the position that supports code enforcement is strictly code enforcement. Wanda Turner's job is strictly code enforcement. She handles everything to do with zoning board, planning board, code enforcement. In this new role, I am holding essentially 3 different functions: Director of Development, Director of Marketing, Director of Public Information. I'm doing them all. And what this position is proposed to do is to be a little bit more than a clerk typist position, even though that's what it's called. It would be helping me with a combination of projects and tasks related to all 3 functions that report under me outside of code enforcement. Okay, so for example, the other day when we had a media situation with a property in Lackawanna, that was me. That could have been handled if I had support. So for me to go to that job puts 5 other projects on hold. So if that's the chess game we want to play, that's the outcome that it's going to be. If there is no support, and I believe me, I'm not the one asking for the support, so I'm just explaining to you what the focus is. But what's happening now is it's not just my time, but Tommy Nicometto, if you take his scenario as well, it's a chess game. If I get pulled onto a media matter, everything else is on hold. If I get pulled to a development matter, no one's there to handle media, and so on and so forth. So this is just another body to help with an expanded role that candidly didn't exist. It's as simple as that.
So would that individual have the know-how to handle media in situations of
Well,
crisis?
I've got 40 years of senior level experience. I can teach anybody to do that. Walking in, what they need to have is common sense and good skills, people skills. The rest of it I can talk to them.
Chuck, but that wouldn't be the job description, would it? Isn't it a clerical position?
Well, but things, so typing and writing a press release. That's a clerical function
Yeah.
that I do. Posting things online, that's a clerical function that today I do, or if it's the website, Shannon Catcher does. So right now, like in the case of the media, all the back and forth that we did with the media for
Right.
that was all clerical. That's something that someone with a clerk typist, if I fed them the information, they could have handled that correspondence with the media. So no, are they me? No. And I'm not asking them to be me. I'm asking them to help with the operations of being me.
And the title of clerk typist under the collective bargaining agreement would encompass those duties.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as I keep them at a clerical level. So I would still be doing the professional level work, if that's the delineation that we're talking about. I'm talking about the option. With all due respect, I don't know that anybody fully understands what it takes to execute any of these programs. There's a lot of clerical work that goes involved with getting that done. And that all sits with one person at the moment. Again, your choice, your decision to do it. If you do it, great. If you don't, that's your choice. Just understand that if it stays with one person, you're playing a chess game here in terms of the responsibilities and how they get done.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Anyone else? Okay. All right, and there's 9A is the appropriate ordinance to that request. Item number 10 from our city attorney, John Gahn, submits a communication regarding opioid litigation and revised CVS sharing agreement. This information deals with the monies received by New York State and are then allocated to various municipalities to combat the opioid epidemic. City attorney requests city council approve the law department to execute the appropriate documents pertaining to this matter. City attorney, John, you want to say anything on that matter?
I really don't. It's going to be self-explanatory. There's multiple entities nationwide that are part of an ongoing settlement/sharing agreement as a result of they were distributors or manufacturers of opioids. So various attorney generals sued them, and monies that are now coming from them are being used to combat the opioid epidemic in areas. And by the way, I don't know if everybody knows, the assistant city attorney, Heather, is sitting in the gallery, and she can introduce herself, but she's also working on this litigation, and we just want to keep the council informed of the money that is coming in order to combat the opioid epidemic.
Okay, thank you, John.
I believe we vote on this annually.
Yeah, we do. Anyone else have any questions or comments on item number 10? If not, moving on to item number 11, Director of Recreation. Director Laxo requests City Council authorize the lease agreement between the City of Lackawanna and Erie County for the use of the county bandwagon stage on Sunday, June 23rd, 2024 for the Bite of Lackawanna. County application and proof of liability insurance provided. Brian, anything on that?
Nothing that I can think. We didn't have to do this last year because when I inquired about how to secure the county stage for our Bite of Lackawanna event, our contact went through Senator Tim Kennedy's office, and he was gracious enough to handle the processing and the fees for all of it. So looking at it this year for the first time, we did see that the agreement with the county did technically, I thought it resembled the contract, so I asked the appropriate persons and wanted to put it before you just so that we could cut through that portion of the red tape.
Okay, thank you. Any council members have any questions of Director Laxo? If not, moving on to item number 12, Director of Development and Public Information. Chuck Clark requests the City Council authorize City Clerk to advertise for bids for the Lackawanna traffic signal. Actually, that is the basis of the request. The additional information as far as authorizing project funding has already been approved by the council. Chuck, anything further on that?
No, this is really just to get the process going. Tony DeSantis and Dan Gerken have indicated that if we can get the bid process moving, we can start moving along with some of the preliminary design and construction. And the DASNY grant is moving its way through the state process, so the time is right to move this along.
Okay, great. Any timetable on this?
As far as the DASNY grant or the signal light?
The signal light. This is something they've been working on for 40 years.
Yeah, Dan, what were they talking about, a 12-month cycle somewhere?
Yeah, as soon as, you know, if you would approve everything to go out to bid, we can start getting the bids together and then go from there. There's no estimate time.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Any other council members on that? If not, then that concludes our caucus. I formally call to order our meeting of February 5th, 2024. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For tonight's meeting, I'll be taking over the reading and the vote taking on the agenda. To my right is our deputy city clerk, Kelsey Anderson. We appreciate her being here tonight and Grace's absence. And we welcome her on her maiden voice, so to speak. Okay, roll call. Councilmember Muflahi.
Present.
Councilmember Anderson. Here. Councilmember Moretti.
Here.
Councilmember Sirdike.
Here.
Councilmember Morano is here. Department heads law,
Here.
development marketing,
Here?
public works,
Here.
public safety,
Here.
controller,
Here.
and recreation.
Here.
Thank you. No hearings from citizens. Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting for February 5th, 2024.
Muflahi moves to adopt minutes of the regular meeting, February 5th, 2024, as read.
Second, Anderson. Moved by Muflahi, seconded by Anderson to adopt minutes of regular meeting of February 5th, 2024 as written. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano? Yes. Carried 5-0. Departmental records 1 and 2 respectively.
Muflahi moves to receive and file departmental reports 1 and 2.
Muflahi moves and Anderson seconds to receive and file departmental reports 1 and 2 inclusive. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano is yes. Carried 5-0. Communications from Mayor. Mayor Fowler requests City Council grant her permission to present 2023 State of the City Address in Council Chambers on Monday, March 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m.
Councilman Moretti moves to okay the request of Mayor Fowler.
Morano seconds to approve request. Motion by Moretti, second by Morano to approve request. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano is yes. Communications from council. First Ward Council Member Muflahi requests a short-term rental units present in front of the zoning board and requests a special unit permit. Also an ordinance to place restrictions on noise violations and repetitive law enforcement presence.
Councilman Moretti moves for the request of Councilmember Muflahi on this situation.
I would ask that it also be referred to law and Director of Development.
Yes.
Okay, please. Motion by Moretti, second by Morano. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano is yes. Carried 5-0. Item number 5, First Ward Council Member Muflahi requests permission to use Senior Center on March 29th, 2024 for community iftar dinner from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Sirdike. Seconded by Anderson. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano is yes. Carried 5-0. Communication from division department heads. Item number 6 from Director Laxo. Request City Council authorize city clerk to advertise for lawn mowing and landscaping bids for the 2024 calendar year.
Muflahi moves to approve the request.
Anderson seconds. Moved by Muflahi, second by Anderson, to approve request. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano is yes, carried 5-0. Item number 7, Director of Public Safety requests City Council approve the sale of Wanko Speed trailer, which is inoperable and obsolete. Proceeds to be placed in the 23-24 operating police department account.
Maflahe moves to approve the request.
Morano seconds. Motion by Muflahi, second by Morano to approve request. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano is yes, carried 5-0. Item number 8, City Controller requests City Council approve the purchase of Envision accounting software in the amount of $34,250 for the first year at a recurring cost of $6,000 annually.
Moretti moves to approve the request.
Second, Sirdike.
Moved by Moretti, second by Sirdike, to approve the request. Muflahi?
No.
Anderson?
No.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano is yes, carried 3-2. Item number 9, City Controller requests City Council approve the ordinance to redistribute excess funds existing in the Developmental Personal Services Budget Code.
Moretti moves to approve the request.
Maflahe seconds.
Moved by Moretti, second by Muflahi, to receive and file and act on ordinance. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano is yes, carried 5-0. The ordinance, 9A, ordinance amending the 23-24 budget ordinance, transferring funds in the amount of $52,500 to increase the salaries reflected in the 23-24 budget to the following departments: law, assessment, purchasing, and public information. Morano moves to adopt the ordinance as written.
Second by Moretti.
Moretti seconds. Moved by Morano, second by Moretti to adopt ordinance as written. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
No.
Morano is yes, carried 4-1. Item number 10 from our city attorney, Gahn submits a communication regarding opioid legislation and revised CVS sharing agreement. This information deals with the monies received by New York State and are then allocated to various municipalities to combat the opioid epidemic. The city attorney requests City Council approve law department to execute and appropriate documents pertaining to this matter.
Maflahe moves to approve the request.
Anderson seconds.
Moved by Muflahi, second by Anderson to approve request. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano is yes, carried 5-0. Item number 11, Director of Recreation requests City Council authorize a lease between City of Lackawanna and Erie County for the use of the county bandwagon stage on Sunday, June 24th, 2024, for the Bite of Lackawanna.
Moretti moves to approve the request.
Second.
Your Honor,
Yes.
you said June 24, 2024. It's actually June 23rd.
When I say June 24, I mean June 23rd.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
I stand corrected. Okay, that's for Sunday, June 23rd and 2024. And I do, okay?
You did well.
Okay. Motion by Moretti, seconded by Sirdike. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano is yes, carried 5-0. Director of Development and Public Information, Chuck Clark, requested the council authorize the city to advertise for bids for the Lackawanna traffic signal.
Maflahe motions to approve the request.
Moretti second.
Give me such joy.
Okay, motion by Muflahi, seconded by Moretti to approve the request for bids for the traffic signal on Lackawanna. Muflahi?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano is yes, carried 5-0. Any table or old business items?
Yes, Mr. President. Under old business, I know it was earlier this summer when we had a resident here from Nelson Place about a home on Nelson Place, roaches and I know that
code enforcement enforcers have been there. They took some action, they cited the landlord, and extermination was done, but it wasn't enough for the residents of that street. And I understand their frustration over there. I was just wondering from if there's any further action taken. I know Mr. Clark is head of development and code enforcement now. Is if I could ask him if anything's been.
Well, he was also responsible for addressing that issue when it came up with Channel 4.
Oh, right.
Chuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you tell us briefly what's going on?
Yeah, certainly. So, we're all aware of the story. Last week, the frustration of the neighborhood boiled over a little bit to the point where Channel 7 did a story. And again, I'm going to support Councilmember Anderson. I don't blame the residents at all. So being the new guy, I got the opportunity to ask a different and fresh set of questions. And the code enforcement folks have been working very hard to try to gain compliance. But the one thing that stuck out to me was the number of fumigation instances at this property that was all taking place from the outside. And the reality of it is, if your source is on the inside, you don't need to be any kind of expert to know that if your source is on the inside, it's going to keep coming back. So I gathered the team together and I asked all of us to think a little bit differently about our approach. And with that said, thanks to Steve Balin, who this week is the senior most code person on staff with Scott Hayes away on some personal leave, Steve has taken the initiative to work with the property manager to get an interior inspection of that property. And we are going to go in top to bottom and look at every element of that property and to determine what additional citations, violations, and actions need to be taken. Because clearly once the weather gets warm, if that infestation problem is coming from the inside out, it doesn't matter how many times they spray on the outside.
And if there are citations, sorry to interrupt you, Chuck, if there are citations, the law department will vigorously prosecute those, correct?
Correct. And so we are now, so I do want to stress that we're getting full cooperation to go into the building, but we're going to take a much stronger and harder look at the interior conditions of that property, and to the extent that it requires everything from moving and fumigation to, at the most extreme, condemnation of property, we're willing to do it.
Very good. Thank you, Chuck.
Is the health department involved in any way?
Through code enforcement there.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Ultimately, though, the enforcement of anything is ours.
Yep.
So it'll all come through us.
Do you mean the Erie County Health
Erie
Department?
County.
Yeah, it'll all come through us.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Chuck. And thank you, Councilmember Anderson. Anyone else? If not,
Yeah, no, I'd like to
Yes.
just throw out some kudos to the DPW for the great job they did during a very difficult situation with our storm that lasted over 3 days. And they were out there really working very, very hard, and it's well appreciated by the residents. Thank you.
thank you, Councilmember Moretti. I think we all agree on that. Anyone else? If not,
One more thing.
Councilmember Surley.
I've been reading and following that a lot of other cities and towns have been passing a resolution to FEMA because they're no longer covering snowstorms, like our recent storm will not be. So maybe in a future meeting we can, or I don't know if we can do that now, direct our lawyer to write up.
That would be a waiver of the rules, wouldn't it?
Well, no, well, then we'll do it soon. I'm just bringing it up now because,
Submit it for the agenda for the next
yeah,
meeting.
right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing it up.
Good idea.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else? If not, then Morano moves for the adjournment. Now, we've had a recent loss. Our council member Anderson, his mother-in-law, and our deputy city clerk, Kelsey, whose grandma and mother-in-law passed away recently. Marilyn Ross, I'd like to adjourn this meeting in her memory. The Ross family is well loved in this community, not only in Lackawanna, but beyond, an exemplary family and hardworking people. Just a pleasure to be around, and Marilyn's loss is felt by all of us. So I would ask that we adjourn and in Marilyn's memory
At all.
at all. Okay, motion by Morano, second by et al. To adjourn. Muflahi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Moretti,
Yes.
Sirdike,
Yes.
and Morano is yes, carried 5-0.